Hi. Okay, so today I want to do a video on food, and I have some of my sheets I've drawn out about what I feel about diet after everything that I've learned and how it works. And I also want to talk a little bit specifically about the certain types of diets, which ones I've tried, what was good, bad about them, etc. So basically the way I see it is, I don't know if you can see this circle here, but it goes in a circle, okay? And at the top, we have the worst, and at the bottom, we have the best, okay? And so it's kind of like a circle. And at the very top, and it also goes in a line. So basically, if you can see this line of diets, if you bent it around like this, that would be the circle. So the circle, the top being the worst and the bottom of the circle being the best. So the line of the diets is actually turns into a circle. So I'll explain that in a minute. But basically at the top of the line, we have starvation, okay? And at the very bottom of the line, we have starvation. So on both ends of the spectrum where it comes together as a circle is starvation. So that being the worst diet possible. Next is water fasting on both ends of the line. Again, so we have starvation here. Next, water fasting. Okay, so water fasting, many people use that as a diet. I have tried it myself. It's not sustainable. This is not a long-term solution. As you know, if you only drink water, some people can do it for 30, 60. It has been said some guy in India has done it in almost a year, but all I know is that drinking water is not a good nutritional plan. It can help for certain ailments and help detoxing as a short-term plan, but basically we have starvation and then we have water fasting. Okay, and they're both on the opposite ends of the extreme. Next, moving on down the list from the top is a fruitarian, and up the list is like intermittent fasting, like keto, let's just say. So like intermittent fasting, kind of water fasting, basically just having water and a little bit of fat. That's what I'm talking about, and we're comparing it to a fruitarian. We move into like juice fasting and juice feasting, and then vegan. Okay, and as we're moving up here the line, we get into keto, ketosis. So again, these diets here are the diets that are the unhealthiest. But once we start to get into vegan and keto, we start to see significant improvements in people's health if they go completely raw vegan or if they go completely keto. So they have been beneficial for many people's health ailments depending, and here's the key, on what they are. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But again, they're on the extreme end and they're not sustainable for a long time. You can use ketosis to your advantage nutritionally, to do something in your body. Same as when you're raw vegan, you can use it to your advantage to do something and to affect change in your body that is going to be beneficial. But for a long-term plan and a strategy for both of them, I feel they both fall down because you're going to be missing key components by giving up food groups on either end. And so that is not a long-term sustainable diet, no matter. Some people will tell you, oh yeah, I've been on keto for 10 years. And there other people, yeah, I've been raw vegan for 10 years. And I just want to tell you that is not the natural human diet. People can do it with key supplements and strict focus and attention to detail to make sure that they're not missing key nutrients that they won't get from those diets. But they are not the most beneficial diets for human beings on either end. So now we get into the middle section here. And this is where it starts to, on one end, you have like low fat, vegan, you have a vegan, vegetarian, right? So we have all these types of a regular vegan that cooks its food, and maybe a vegan, and they're low fat, maybe a high fat vegan that has a few more things. Then we get into vegetarianism. They eat meat, they eat eggs. I mean, fish and eggs, but no meat. And on the other end, when you get away from ketosis, you step up into high fat, low carb. They're not quite in ketosis, but they're focusing on mostly fats and they're cutting out their carbs. And then in the middle is what and GAPS is sort of, it's a lot of animal meat, a lot of bone broth. Sort of the middle is paleo and Mediterranean, these kinds of foods, Whole30, these diets. So the Mediterranean-based diet is one that will include grains and legumes and lots of fruits, lots of vegetables, meat, fish, cheese, dairy, but they're all real foods. The Mediterranean-based diet is known to be a real food diet, and it almost includes all the food groups, but it's a diet designed to be super healthy. The paleo diet also includes most food groups, but they're cutting out some, again, that are hard to digest, like grains, legumes, because of all the lectins in them. Some paleos have the autoimmune protocol, this protocol, they're cutting out nightshades, they're cutting out this. So paleo is basically Mediterranean, only cut out the foods that are hardest to digest, and they're also cutting out dairy. So as you can see at the opposite ends, we have starvation, and if this goes into a circle, you can see starvation's at the top, right? And we fan out to water fasting. We come around to intermittent fasting on this side, juice fasting on this side, juicing, juice feasting. We get down to keto, sort of up here, and vegan over here, raw vegan, and then low-fat vegan. We get into high carb, low fat on this side. We get into vegetarianism. We get into sort of paleo, and then we're sort of this sort of Mediterranean paleo, sort of at the bottom here is the best diet. Now, I've done all the diets, so I can tell you the benefits and the drawbacks of all of them, but that's just sort of how I see it. I want you to see it in a line and in a circle. That's kind of how I visualize this and how I see it. But okay, so let's just today talk about, maybe I'll go into each diet, but let's just talk about the main ones. Let's say that we already agree that starvation's no good. We already agree that water fasting is no good. Although detoxing with water fasting for maybe 1 or 2 days or 3 days, even up to a week, there's a lot of people that recommend that. So I'm not talking about doing weekly stints at something. I'm talking about a long-term diet plan here that is going to nurture your cells, sustain you, and heal your body by giving it what it needs and getting rid of what it doesn't. So I'm not saying that water fasting doesn't have a purpose, because it can in short stints, but let's agree that that is not a long-term sustainable diet. Same with being fruitarian or just basically intermittent fasting, a mostly fasting diet with a little bit of ketosis, also not good. And then we have, juicing and raw vegan, and keto. So those ones are the ones I want to start with, because people have cured major diseases, major, and I'm talking major, on both being a raw vegan and juicing a lot, and people have done that being keto and basically eating no carbs and high fat. And they have done this for basically the same reasons. So when you're on a vegan diet, and I did this, I went all raw vegan, I juiced, I basically did many different things, but I did a juicing protocol that was similar to Gerson, but it had many different vegetables that I juiced mostly, not juicing my fruit, but consuming fruit, just eating whole fruits, and juicing my vegetables, and then using nuts and seeds and basically those types of things to make all your meals. So you would be eating salads and raw soups, and they have all these treats and different desserts that you can use, all these amazing things and little ice creams, and that you're just using coconut milk, banana, whatever. So anyways, you sustain yourself on raw foods with living enzymes, which is basically what they argue. And they being raw vegans, they're sort of it's a culture. So the culture of raw vegans will sort of say that this is how we were meant to live. This is how we evolved in history. Monkeys and apes they basically don't eat meat. They eat fruit. The gorillas, they don't eat protein. They eat leaves. So this is how the ideology of that particular, I don't know, ideology got started. Basically, they just think that it is just this wonderful world where people should only eat plants, and that is how we evolved to do it. And when we started to eat meat, and when we put all the meat into our diets, we started to get disease and all of this stuff. And then, of course, most recently, the China study condemns eating any meat and saying that's where all disease comes from. So there's a long, convoluted history of how and what veganism is, and specifically raw vegan, which is more a more recent movement. But I did it. I was 100% convinced when I was doing it that it was the right thing to do, because when you listen to all the people doing it, you think, oh my God, these people cured cancer, stage 4, late stage cancer by juicing. These people, cured arthritis, they cured multiple sclerosis, they cured all kinds of things, and they brought themselves tuberculosis, they brought themselves back from the dead, and by eating raw fruits and vegetables and getting all the living nutrients and enzymes and everything out of these foods. And this is what I need to do, definitely 100%, to revive my body. And I 100% bought into it and thought, this is going to heal me. This is the right diet. This is the diet I need to be eating. Well, fast forward maybe 10 months, and I was ill and sicker and worse and feeling like, why isn't this working for me? And of course, as you are going along and it's not working for you, you are trying harder, you're juicing more, you're doing everything that you possibly can to follow all the rules, to bend over backwards, just consuming these. I mean, it's a full-time job. It's a full-time job to juice all these juices, and to eat all this salad. And it takes so long to chew and chew and chew. And it's like eating and juicing becomes your entire life when you are doing this to heal. And they have it half right. They have it half right to flood your body with all those amazing nutrients from vegetables and fruits and just nuts and seeds, and eating what is living and raw and whole, and they're whole foods. And they definitely have half of the equation right, because it is an amazing protocol, and that's why people are definitely losing tons of weight. They're healing things. Arthritis is going away. They're feeling energized. They're detoxing. They're getting all the crap out of their system, all the processed foods, and they're feeling alive, and this is great. But let's not forget, this diet, even though people say that you can get all the protein and everything you need from plant sources, which, I mean, plant sources of food do have protein, but we're missing a huge component, omega-3 fatty acids and DHA and EPA and vitamin B12 and things that are found in animal products. I mean, these things are predominantly found and assimilated through animal products, and you are lacking that so much on a vegan diet and a raw vegan diet. You're just lacking it. You're not giving your brain and flooding it and each cell with what it needs to thrive. So although you're detoxing tons of disease out of your body and things that shouldn't be there, you're detoxing, you're getting rid, you're not, and you're putting in good. I definitely agree you're putting in good, but you're not putting in everything good that it needs. And long term, and this is why veganism, is sort of, it's like a fallacy, it's like a fantasy. humans were designed to eat a diet that includes high DHA and B12, and anybody who's designing a diet and it's missing a major component or requirement of what that body needs in order to be healthy and continue to live, they're missing the point. It can't work. It will never work. It's not the right diet. It definitely is not the right diet. And if you go back, in evolution, you'll see all hunter-gatherers, they ate meat, they killed meat. When we started to evolve into humans, cooking our food was helping us get more nutrition out of the food and pre-digesting it. Eating the meat helped us, and getting all the fish and cooked and everything like that helped us to develop large human brains that helped us go on to be the types of people that we are today, our human species. So without those foods, comparing us at this point to cows or monkeys is ridiculous. It makes no sense. They don't have brains like us. And we need these requirements to keep our brains and our bodies functioning the way they need to function. So on one end, you can see how it definitely detoxes, it definitely floods the body with nutrients, and it definitely works. And it would be and people sustain it because they eat algae supplements with DHA in it, and then they take supplements with B12, and people can sustain on that diet. Is it ideal? Is it the best diet? No. They get all kinds of dental problems, their bone problems, things over the long haul, and most raw vegans turn back. They don't stay raw vegan. And some people who have made their living off it, even though they now realize that they need meat and fish, they don't tell the rest of the people that they're going back. Certain raw vegans who gave it a good shot for 5-6 years, and then started to eat more a paleo type diet, a more, including fish and meat and fat into their diets, and they thrived. Their brain needed it. They started to thrive again. So it's good in the short term, and it definitely detoxes illness out of your body and the garbage and the junk, and it floods you with half the vital nutrients and minerals that you need, but you're still missing half of the puzzle. So please don't stop there. If you're raw vegan, add fats, add protein, add things to this wonderful protocol that you're doing with juicing and salads and vegetables and nuts and seeds, but that isn't the only thing. So moving on to the other side, I also went keto. I went strict keto, thinking, well, people have halted their stage 4 brain cancers, and they're curing, they're curing seizures and epilepsy and cancers, and we're not feeding the cancer any sugar now. So now we get into, let's flood our body with fat, and let's cut off carbohydrates. Let's completely cut out carbohydrates. Basically, you're down to less than 20 grams of carbohydrates a day, which is seriously malnutrition, a malnutrition diet for your body. You're getting fat, which is great, but fat is void of nutrition. It's a great energy source. Our body vitally needs it. Our cells are built from fat, so we need to feed our brain cells fat. So it's a great strategy because you can get off the energy, and it's basically detoxing your body again because you're not putting in the junk, you're not putting in the grains, you're not putting in all the stuff that your body, it takes work to process these things, and you're getting free radicals in your body as you're processing all your food. So basically they're cutting off food, which is the carbohydrates, and you're eating fat, you're relying on fat, a little bit of protein, a little bit of carbohydrates, but you're not getting the plethora of fruits and vegetables and nutrients and vitamins that you need, even though your brain is getting amazing energy and fuel and fat, and it's getting this nutrient that it was missing and it needed in order to thrive. And it's a very, you're getting ketones now. Your body's fueling off ketones instead of glucose, and you're feeling amazing. But again, it's not sustainable long term. You are missing vital nutrients. You're missing vegetables. You're missing fruit. You're missing the vitamins. You are missing it. So I just want to stop this video here and just compare the difference of raw vegan and ketosis and how they both work to stop disease. Ketosis works metabolically to slow down any insulin response in your body. You're definitely, you're not feeding sugar to your cells. You're not getting the insulin spike. If you have cancer, you're not feeding any cancer. You're basically just kind of steady leveling fuel. But you're missing, if you're not eating, as many greens as you can and colorful fruits and vegetables, you are missing out on what your body needs. Same as when you're being raw vegan, and you are missing out on the fat and the protein that your body was designed to have. So both of those diets were failures for me. It gave me positive benefits in the short term, I'd say for the first 3 months, and then I started to feel bad, and that is why I started to feel bad, not because I was doing it wrong. And in both cases I tried harder in ketosis. I upped my fat, I cut my carbs down lower. When I was raw vegan, I juiced more, I upped all my greens, I went crazy. So it's basically like those two diets are amazing. If you could marry them together, they'd be like one of the most perfect diets. But doing them separately and missing out on fat and protein when you're vegan, like on the fat content, and when you are in ketosis, you're missing out on all those wonderful phytonutrients that come from plants that you can only get from plants, and carbohydrates, starches. So that's how I feel about those two diets. I did them both. I did them both for a long time, and I didn't just do them a little bit. I